This is where I'm going to put the I/O ports. Basically, your the two USB ports, the microphone, headphone, and considering how old this case is, it has one FireWire port. But that's where this is going to go. I already got the holes drilled for this. So once I get that bolted on over there like that, I'll use the JB Weld to close up and make sure it stays in place. My daughter helped me do the cutting on the holes. As you can tell, it didn't come out exactly square or the right size for this. So I've got a lot to fill in over here. I'm going to see if I can do it with the JB Weld, but that's where that's going to go, from up here, from the top down to here. I could have left it on the top where it was factory installed, but just the fact of having wires hanging down the front of the case or down the side doesn't seem right. So that's why I'm moving it down here. As far as this other portion of the case here, this is normally just a little letter A plus that lights up, and then you could control 2 fans, plus it'll monitor 1 temperature sensor for you, because I am getting a fan controller for the 3 case fans and the CPU cooler. I just might find a way to cover this up completely so everything is nice and flush, and just not even bother with that. Right now, that's where I'm at right now. Just closing up these holes that need to be closed up with the JB Weld. I apologize for using a flashlight, but lighting conditions aren't the best in my house here. Alright, back to the build here. It's been a couple of days. I had to put everything aside due to other things that came up around the house. But anyway, what I did is I closed up a couple of these holes. It's basically a rectangle with rounded edges, oval type hole. Basically, this is the black pearl case. I know I've said it before earlier in the video or another part of the video, but it's basically a Lian Li case. And I wanted to close up these holes. I could have cut this whole thing out and just find another piece of aluminum and not have to worry about all the holes and everything. That would be more costly for me. It's very soft aluminum. It's easy to cut, drill, grind, whatever. But I have a whole bunch, well, not a whole bunch, but I have these, basically they're the blank 5 1/4 bay covers that come with most cases. With the Lian Li, they're aluminum. So seeing as I had a whole bunch of these, basically I just put it underneath here, traced it out with a pencil. My neighbor does auto body, automotive restoration. Gave him the parts to drill, cut out, and you know, he made the edges a little bit nice and even gave it a little bit of a bevel. So basically, I could use the JB Weld. Basically, if you've never used JB Weld, the black is the metal, the yellow is the hardener. You mix it in even proportions. Once you have everything mixed thoroughly, you could use. I just found. I have a bunch of old pieces of plastic from an old fish tank filter assembly. So basically I just used that and basically put it underneath here to keep everything from falling through. And wax paper. If you're going to do anything like this, use wax paper. Because if you use anything else, especially something like a piece of plastic, regardless whether it has holes in it or not, JB Weld is not watery. It's more like a very thick molasses, but it will ooze through cracks and holes. And seeing as these pieces weren't exact fits, they actually had a little groove on each side, and that was perfect because that's what I needed, because that's what's holding it in place. The JB Weld would, I pushed it in through the little cracks all around, and I put it underneath as well. After it was dried, And I used basic painter's tape to hold everything into place so this wouldn't fall through. If it's something heavier, you'd need something to prop it up. But basically, I really never took the time to really see how well this is actually working, and to my surprise, it's holding very well. I mean, I can sit here, and if I really wanted to, I could bend this whole shelf assembly, but I don't want to do that. But just to show you, you could see how well this thing is flexing, and I'm holding it by the metal part. This is a square one that I'm putting up top. I'll be getting to that in a minute, but this is basically what's here, except it's made to fit the hole. And I know it looks sloppy, it looks like garbage, but it's all going to get sanded down and smoothed out so it, you don't see all of that. Plus it's going to get painted. These other black dots you see around, those are other holes that I plugged up. Basically did the same thing. I put a little bit of wax paper onto the painter's tape, stuck it over the hole, and just laid down some of the JB Weld, enough that it would go through the hole. The wax paper keeps it nice and pretty much smooth, doesn't let it fall through and drip. And there's a little bit of a bump here, but like I said, that'll get grinded down. But that's basically all I did, was to close up the holes with the JB Weld. Now, same thing with this little one. I'm sitting here, you could see how much I'm pressing on it. I mean, I don't want to keep doing that because I don't want to bend this. I'm still debating on how I'm going to have everything set up with the hard drives and everything. I was thinking about just leaving this open, so in the future, if there's going to be any kind of water cooling setup going in, it's already there, ready to go. All you got to do is, put everything in, and then just put the hard drives up here into the 5 1/4 bays. But you could see this JB Weld is holding extremely well, considering the gap in between the shelf here, if you want to call it that, and the piece that I put in is about the width of 2 sheets of paper. Some wax paper that I'm using for the top, but that's about as thick as the gap that was there between this and the piece that I put in, and a little bit of overlap to help it hold. But I'm very surprised and very pleased at the way it came out. So now what I'm going to do is, and these pieces that you see here is what I'm using up here. Now this is where the I/O port was initially mounted. Basically with the little door that opened up so you could plug in your USB, FireWire, headphone, microphone jacks. And I wasn't happy about that. Depending on where if the computer was sitting on the floor, then it wouldn't be much of an issue. But still, regardless, you're going to have, wires hanging down over the front. And then you got your optical drive that obviously have to open. You have to worry about wires getting caught when a drawer closes and so forth. So I didn't like that. So I cut it out of here, and I'm putting it down on the front, where the older Lian Li cases, V1200, V2000 cases, had it all the way down towards almost to the very bottom of the case. So that's where I put the I/O port, cut out the hole. I'll be showing that later on in the video. But basically, there's no real heavy-duty supports that are going in here. Just a little bit of tape, and you could see the plastic on there. That's basically just wide enough in the hole here, which is what's going to hold everything and to hold the piece of metal that I had cut out. And then the wax paper is there to keep the JB weld from oozing through and keep it in place. You don't need a lot of wax paper, just enough to cover the hole. I might have made this a little too small, but it'll work. So let me get the other one in. And it doesn't take long for the JB weld to actually set. Like I said, I didn't intend to leave this sitting for a couple of days, but it just so happens that it turned out that way. But it only takes maybe 6 hours for it to set, but I would give it more than that to completely set and dry, because once it is completely hardened, you can drill it, sand it, cut it. So right now I'm just making sure that the wax paper is completely covering this hole here, because this piece is going to go in here, and once I start putting in the JB weld, I don't want it to start oozing down and dripping and so forth. But the wax paper was there to keep it from sticking to the plastic pieces that are actually giving the support to hold this in place while the JB weld dries. You can make it, you know, like I said, you can make it a little bit bigger, but you got to make sure you have enough room for the tape to stick. If not, then it's not going to hold. And the wax paper will not stick to the JB weld. So when you do take it off, excuse me. So when you do take it off, it won't stick to it. So right now, I know it's kind of hard to tell, but I got a little bit of a gap here, which is perfect. Let me try turning it around a little bit. Let's see if that fits better. That's a little bit too tight. The hole is not perfectly square. I had my younger daughter help me cut this out with a Dremel. So, you know, she's 15 years old and doesn't know much about computers. She's learning what she is learning. She's learning from me. So, she's the one, along with my other daughter, that's actually helping me do a lot of the work here.